Break of this world's chain, we adore thee, whom all men love. Spotless, taking man's form, O purifier, thou art above the three, knowledge divine, not flesh, thou whom the cosmos wears, a diamond at its heart. Let us look deep in thine eyes, they are bright with the wisdom of God. Let us hold fast to thy feet, treading the waves of the world to safety. O drunk with love, God drunken lover, in thee all paths of all yogas meet. Lord of the worlds, thou art ours, who art born a child of our time, easy of access to us. O merciful, if we take any hold upon God in our prayer, it is by thy grace alone. Cease all thine austerities, were practiced for our sake. How great was thy sacrifice, freely choosing thy birth in this prison, our iron age, to unchain us and set us free. Perfect, whom less could not take, nor passion nor gold draw near. O Master of all who renounce, fill our hearts full of love for thee. Thou hast finished with fear and with doubt, standing firm in the vision of God, refuge to all who have cast fame, fortune, and friends away. Without question thou savest us, and the world's great sea in its wrath seems shrunk to the paddle that fills a footprint in the clay. Speech cannot hold thee, nor mind, yet without thee we think not, nor speak. Lord, who art partial to none, we are equal before thy sight. Take away of our pain. We salute thee, though we are blind. Jai Srimad Swami Saradananda Ji Maharaj Ki Jai.
So today being Swami Saradananda's birthday, we're going to spend a few minutes just remembering some of the most significant portions of his life. Like so many of the young devotees of Sri Ramakrishna, he was also first members of the Brahmo Samaj. His cousin was Swami Ramakrishna, was to be the Ramakrishnananda. And they were studying together, they were living together and studying together and going to the Brahma Samaj together. It was actually a mutual friend of them who had read about Keshav Sen's article of Sri Ramakrishna and decided that they should all visit the saint of Dakshineshwar. And so one day they all went to see the master, and at first sight, Sri Ramakrishna recognized Sharat and Shashi as belonging to his inner circle, you could say. And the master said, "Bricks and tiles, if burnt with the trademark on them, retain those marks forever." And so these two young men obviously had the marks of great spiritual saints that Sri Ramakrishna instantly recognized. One day at Dakshineshwar, the master was praising Ganesha, the god of success, for his great filial love and absolute purity of heart. Sharat was present in the audience, and at once he said, "Sir, I like the character of Ganesha very much. He is my ideal." And Sri Ramakrishna says, "No." The master immediately corrected him. "Ganesha is not your ideal. Your ideal is Shiva. In you lies dormant the attributes of Shiva. Always think of yourself as Shiva and me as your Shakti. I am the ultimate repository of all your powers. So it's quite amazing how this mystical utterance of the Master was to be fulfilled later in Sharat's life. Before coming to Dakshineshwar, Sharat had met the future Swami Vivekananda, Narendra, at a mutual friend's home in Calcutta. And interestingly enough, he did not take to him at first. He thought he was kind of a conceited young man and kind of had bad manners. And so it was interesting that later Ramakrishna was talking about a young man named Narendra, and Sharat didn't realize that this was the same person, and he was praising him quite highly. He said, I have not seen another boy like Narendra. He is as efficient in music, vocal and instrumental, as in the acquisition of knowledge, in conversation as well as in religious matters. He loses normal consciousness in meditation for whole nights. My Narendra is a coin with no alloy whatsoever. Toss it up and you hear the truest sound. He goes to the Brahmo Samaj also and sings devotional songs there. But he is not like other Brahmos. He is a true knower of Brahman. He sees light where he sits for meditation. Is it for nothing that I love Narendra so much? So, of course, with such wonderful praise by Sri Ramakrishna, the young Sharat, the future Saradananda, was intrigued as to who this wonderful person was. And so, at one point, he ended up being introduced to him and discovered, oh my goodness, this is the same person. This is the person that I didn't like at the first meeting. But they became great friends, and that pleased Sri Ramakrishna greatly. By the way, all this information is from Swami Chaitananda's book on the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. One day the Master asked him, how would you like to realize God? What divine vision do you prefer to see in meditation? And Sharat replied, I do not want to see any particular form of God in meditation. I want to see him in all beings. I do not like visions. The Master said with a smile, that is the last word in spiritual attainment. You can't have it all at once. But I won't be satisfied with anything short of that, replied Sharat. I shall strive my best until I am able to obtain it. At last the Master blessed him and said, yes, you will attain it. Then there was another incident that also had to do with him having to ending up liking somebody that he didn't think he was going to like. There was a devotee of Sri Ramakrishna called the younger Naran, and one day the Master started talking about him. He says, he is a good boy. Please go to his house one day and talk to him, will you? And Sharat replied, but sir, now he doesn't like anybody but Narendra, the future Vivekananda. I like no one so much as I do the elder Naran, so I don't feel any inclination to visit the younger Naran. The Master scolded him and said, you brat. He wasn't very subtle, was he? You brat, you are very one-sided. It is a sign of small-mindedness. As the flower tray of the Lord contains various kinds of flowers, so he has all kinds of devotees. It is a sign of narrowness if one cannot mix and have joy with all. You must one day visit the younger Naran, won't you? Sharat promised to visit him and left. After a few days, Sharat went to visit the younger Naran and had a wonderful conversation with him, which solved a great problem of his life. In passing, the younger Naran had said, Brother, whatever the Master asks us to do is for our good. Otherwise, what self-interest does he have? Immediately, Sharat realized why the Master had insisted that he visit the younger Naran. And so this is something we can all learn from. We're all the devotees of Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, Vivekananda here, and we're all different kinds of people. We're not all cut from the same cloth necessarily. And so we must realize that the Master has brought us all here for his purposes, and we need to emphasize that idea of togetherness and brotherhood and sisterhood here. After spreading the message of Vedanta in America and England for several years, Swami Vivekananda desperately needed an assistant to continue the momentum. I've obviously skipped ahead quite a few years here. The master has passed away, and the order has not yet really been founded. They had sort of a loose gathering of the devotees of Sri Ramakrishna. But in 1893, Vivekananda went to the Parliament of Religions and was a huge success. Had lectured all over, and he wrote Saradananda and said, please come to England. He knew he couldn't stay there forever, and so he wanted one of the other disciples to come to continue some of the work. So in the beginning, Saradananda was reluctant, but as we see so often in the history of our order, he went to Holy Mother. Holy Mother was the sort of the word of last, the last word in everything, you could say. And the mother told him, my son, be not afraid. You should go to the West. The master will protect you and will be with you wherever you go. So he went to England in 1896. And on the way, the ship was buffeted by a huge storm in the Mediterranean Sea. And all the passengers in this huge panic. Some were crying and running in fear and shaking out of nervousness. The whole scene was frightening. But Swami Saradananda stayed quite calm through the whole thing. And his calmness eventually helped the others to become calm. Then, when they stopped in Rome on the way to England, he visited St. Peter's. Now, he was one of the people that Sri Ramakrishna had felt had been a disciple of Jesus in a former incarnation. And so his mind became quite absorbed in memories of that previous incarnation. So then he arrives in London. He's a guest of Mr. E.T. Sturdy, one of Swami Vivekananda's students. And he started a sort of a whirlwind tour with Swami Vivekananda, listening to him lecture and learning how to lecture in the West. Then Swami Vivekananda established the Vedanta, he had established the Vedanta Society in New York a couple of years earlier. And so he asked Swami Saradananda to come to America with Mr. Goodwin, another one of his wonderful disciples and stenographer, to carry on the work there. Now, he was still kind of nervous about lecturing, but Swamiji encouraged him. And he says, look, I have already lectured there. You just teach them a little Gita and Upanishads and answer their questions. So he arrived in New York and continued the work of the Vedanta Society there for a couple of years and did many of the same kinds of activities that Swami Vivekananda had done. For example, he was asked to speak at the Green Acres Conference of Comparative Religions in Maine, and he talked at the Ethical Association in Brooklyn and so forth. And so he was really following in Swami Vivekananda's footsteps there. He also, there's an interesting incident that happened when he was lecturing in Mount Clair, New Jersey. He stayed at the home of Mr. and Mrs. Wheeler. And Swami Atulananda wrote in his book this following incident. He was living happily at their home. The Swami had often spoken about Sri Ramakrishna, and one day he produced his picture and showed it to the lady of the house. And the lady exclaimed, "Oh, Swami, it is that same face." "What do you mean?" asked the Swami. And then she told him that a long time ago in her youth, before she had been married, she had seen a vision of a Hindu, and that it was that same face that she now saw in the photograph. "It was Sri Ramakrishna," she said, "but I didn't know it until now. I was so much impressed and charmed by the vision at the time that I remember the face very distinctly, and I have been going about here and there ever since that I had that vision. Wherever I heard that a Hindu had come to America, I'd always went to see them thinking it might be the one, but I was always disappointed until you showed me that picture." So that was a very interesting incident. The same people that had helped Vivekananda continued to help Swami Saradananda, people like Mrs. Oli Bull, who was a very efficient manager. She had managed her late husband's violin career and was quite good at managing things. And he was really beginning to get into the management of the New York Center when Swami Vivekananda, who had gone back to India, decided that he really needed Saradananda to help him start the order at Bellarmont. So he handed over the responsibilities of the Vedanta Society of New York to Swami Abhedananda and went back to help establish the monastery. It was moved from Alambazar to Nilambar Mukherjee's garden house in Belur, nearby the new plot of land, and eventually they founded the current Bellarmont. Swami Vivekananda framed the rules and regulations of the Bellarmont Monastery and asked Saradananda and the other brothers to implement them and train the young monks accordingly. He, of course, assigned Swami Brahmananda to be the first president of the order and Swami Saradananda the general secretary. And for nearly 3 decades, from 1898 to 1927, Saradananda was the chief organizer of the Ramakrishna order in its manifold activities. Saradananda was a born leader. He always considered the youngest member of the order his equal and was perfectly just and democratic in his dealings. Whenever there was a lack of servants in the monastery, he would offer to share the menial and domestic chores along with the younger members. He never judged anyone or anything without considering all sides of the question. So he became a very wonderful force in the monastery, guiding it. Of course, Swami Brahmananda was the president, but he was somewhat of a different nature. He was his spiritual moods were rather continuous, and it was really left to Saradananda to do all of the very practical day-to-day kinds of things that one has to do in order to run the monastery. He, though, would always consult Swami Brahmananda on anything, any serious matters. Now, Trigunatitananda had been the editor of the Bengali magazine Udbodhan, which had been started by Swami Vivekananda, but in 1902, Swami Trigunatitananda left for America to take over the work in the San Francisco Center. So those duties also fell on Swami Saradananda. It seemed like more and more responsibilities kept falling on him. And to keep the financially troubled magazine alive, Saradananda planned to move it to a house in Calcutta, where the magazine office would be downstairs and the shrine and Holy Mother's residence would be upstairs. It bothered him quite a bit that Sri Sarada Devi, Holy Mother, didn't have a place of her own to stay when she came to Calcutta. And so this was his idea, to start the Udbodhan Center, where the office of the magazine and Holy Mother would be. Now, Yogananda had actually been Holy Mother's caretaker, but he died in 1899. And then Trigunatitananda took over, and then he left, and so again, Swami Saradananda took over those responsibilities, which he carried until her death in 1920. Now, he was really a model karma yogi. He was fearless and not concerned about the criticism of others. He knew he was working for God, and he depended on God's will. As a karma yogi, he had no selfish motives. He was unaffected by the praise or blame of others. As Sri Krishna said in the Gita, they are wretched who seek the results of their actions. Saradananda was a role model for leading a balanced life. His character was a perfect blend of the four yogas. He was a jnani, man of wisdom, and attained nirvikalpa samadhi. His devotion for the Master, Holy Mother, and Vivekananda was profound. He was a perfect yogi. Even 1,000 problems could not perturb the equanimity of his mind. So maybe there was a bit of Ganesha in him. He was unflappable. So he had great equanimity of mind, and he was an ideal worker. He offered his body, mind, and soul to Sri Ramakrishna's mission. Once Holy Mother remarked and said to one of her devotees, "Look at Sharad. He works so much. He faces so many problems, yet he remains calm and never complains. He is a sadhu. Why does he undergo all these things? If he wishes, he could remain absorbed in God day and night. It is only for your good that he is living on this earthly plane." Another time, Swami Vivekananda had said that the Master had brought Sharad for his work. One of the main difficulties that he faced was the viewpoint of the British rulers of the new Bellarmont organization. They always tried and still do try to keep politics out of any of their dealings. They do not want to be looked at as an organization that is proposing any kind of political activity, but they keep it completely spiritual. However, many young men, especially Bengalis, were involved as young revolutionaries before they had joined the order, and this tended to taint the order's reputation. He did not hesitate to accept young men that had been former revolutionaries. He did not feel that would be appropriate and would simply be cowardice to do so. So he accepted these people, even though he knew it would mean that the police and the government officials would apply greater scrutiny to the activities of the order. One time he had to face an inquisition from the police, and one of the other swamis that was there was shocked at how rudely the police had treated him. And he says, "Oh, I'm so sorry that you had to undergo that." And Saradananda replied, "If my mind does not accept the rudeness, how can I be insulted? Have I kept anything for myself? I have already offered body, mind, and soul at the feet of our Lord. Where there cannot be any room for good and bad, honor and dishonor, so be at ease. You need not worry on my behalf." So another great lesson that we can learn from the life of Swami Saradananda. He eventually wrote a memorandum containing 12 points to the Lord Carmichael and had a meeting with him. And after that, the British rulers ceased to bother the order. They realized that their intentions were totally spiritual and they were not a subversive political organization. Well, eventually, of course, Swami Brahmananda passed away and the position of president became open. And so they had the election according to the rules of the order. And there were two nominees, Shivananda and Saradananda. When the election was over, Saradananda had an overwhelming number of the votes, but he said, "No, I will not be president." Swami Vivekananda asked me to be secretary, and I will remain so. So Swami Shivananda became the next president of the Ramakrishna order. One day, a scientist asked him if God existed, and if so, what was the proof? And he says, well, the words of the rishis. After experiencing God, they proclaimed that God exists. And of course, the scientist says, well, you know what? Maybe they're mistaken. How would we know? And he said, could they all be mistaken? And he says, just because you haven't seen something yourself, does that mean it's not real? You haven't been to England. Does that mean you don't think it's real? there are a lot of people that report that there is an England over there. So the scientist was finally convinced that even though he had not yet himself experienced God, that indeed there must be a God. Another time, Swami Saradananda was asked a question about the necessity of taking a bath before practicing japam. He says, are such observances compulsory? And Saradananda says, the master came to make religion easy. People were being crushed under the weight of rules and regulations. To repeat the Lord's name or to worship him, no special time or place is necessary. In whatever condition one may be, one can take his name. The master never gave too much importance to these external observations. As to means, adapt whatever suits you best. If you like God with form, that will also lead you to the goal. And so again, that's another important rule. Most of us wouldn't be here if things were so strict and that all the rules that were typical in Hinduism in earlier days were still being followed. And we had to have just the right utensils and just the right kinds of leaves and flowers to offer and so forth. It would be impossible to follow all those rules in a different country. And so we owe it to Sri Ramakrishna that that he made religion simple and something that even we can do here in the West. So Swami Saradananda was extremely conscientious, and although he felt his work was about finished, he wanted to leave a lasting guideline for the Ramakrishna Mountain Mission. And so he decided that it would be helpful to have a convention. So it was his idea that the first convention of the Ramakrishna Mountain Mission took place and has happened periodically ever since. So he was the chairman, and he gave two very inspiring speeches, one called the Ramakrishna Mission, Its Past, Present, and Future, and the other, The Ideas, Ideals, and Activities of the Ramakrishna Mission. And so these are guiding lights for the work of the order in the years to come. In the early days with Sri Ramakrishna, the young Sard had asked for that blessing that he might be able to see God in every being, and you can see in his life that he really achieved that. He treated everyone with such great respect and love. And one time somebody had asked him if about this, and he says, a few days ago I went to Bellarmont and prostrated before Sri Ramakrishna. The master appeared before me and said, you love all because you find me in all. And so that was the confirmation that Swami Saradananda had achieved that goal that he had asked for from Sri Ramakrishna. So we have a few more minutes that you can now meditate on those inspiring thoughts from Swami Saradananda.